Guide us with thy mighty hand. Keep us free from evil powers. Be our life through countless hours. To our leaders, great defenders, grant true wisdom from above. Justice, truth be yours forever. Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love. Teach us true respect for all. Stir response to duty's call. Strengthen us the weak to cherish. Give us visions lest we perish. Knowledge sent us, Heavenly Father, grant true wisdom from above. Justice, truth be yours forever. Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love.
So I'm walking through town of Black River along with our caretaker Miranda Wellington. It's Saturday around midday, close to midday. And obviously, as you can see, it's total destruction here. And the people are saying that their needs right now are water. They got some food through the JDF. We're grateful for that. But water and tarpaulins. Tarpaulins are needed because shelter is a problem. Most people have nowhere to live and they are exposed to the elements. So water and tarpaulins are the immediate needs in Black River today. I must tell you, I was visiting Northern St. Elizabeth earlier today, and the destruction in those communities up in the hills from Santa Cruz going up. Santa Cruz is full of mud, but you know, the actual major destruction is in the areas around and above it, where everything is down.
There is no home here that
Yes.
has been left unscathed.
Yeah,
If somebody hasn't lost their roof, they've been flooded out.
right.
Everybody has been affected.
Right.
There are entire communities which have totally lost every single roof in the community. Communities like Thornton, in Silo as well. One person was lucky, he only lost 6 things,
Wow.
but everybody else in the community lost their roof. Some communities where people cannot get in, they can't get out. People sending me messages that they have elderly people who need to go to the doctor, and they can't get out of the communities. I
Right.
reached out to the government. I have asked them for assistance in terms of clearing the roadway.
Yeah.
They've told me that as a member of parliament, I can't engage with private contractors to clear the roadway, even though it is a dire situation. So
Yes.
I've been faced with the choice of either obeying the edicts of the government and allowing people to potentially suffer irreparable harm, or I go in and get a private contractor to help clear. And so that's what I've been doing. I've had to be getting contractors to assist persons in areas like Carlton Avenue of Southampton. This morning, another contractor will be heading to park at first. It's an area in Santa Cruz, and then they'll head to Abraham/Burnt-Brown, because persons are marooned up there as well. The entire road has collapsed.
Right. I mean, I reached out to the Prime Minister a few days ago and suggested that an allocation be made available to MPs to help clear roads and also to deal with the distress on the ground. I'm not sure where we are with getting the allocation. We haven't heard anything definitive yet. But in the meantime, the people are stuck in. And it's really, I think, we need to release the situation so that we can get the work done. But You know, these things unfortunately seem to be taking a long time. I'm appealing to the authorities to pay some attention to Northeast and Northwest St. Elizabeth so that the people up there can get a sense of hope that they're not forgotten. It's very important psychologically in this time for people who have suffered utter devastation to have hope and belief that people care and that people are trying their best to send them some relief. So that's why I'm trying to advocate for that on these visits to these terribly hard-hit areas.
Good afternoon. Welcome to a special edition of Terrortoies Talk. My name is Chris Famous of Bermuda, and Bermuda is just one island that was hit by Hurricane Melissa. As we all know, Cuba, Haiti, parts of the Dominican Republic, and Jamaica was hit very hard by Hurricane Melissa. I want to thank our media partners, Cayman Mile Road in Cayman Islands, Radio Turks and Caicos, Channel 82 in Bermuda, and CBN Radio in the British and US Virgin Islands, who is hosting this live special today because I have a very special guest who is going to speak to what is going on in Jamaica in the affected communities. And I also want to give a shout out to my co-host, Shana Smith Archer of the beautiful Virgin Islands, and Speaker Shirley Osborne of Montserrat. So without further ado, I introduce my very special guest to tell us what's going on in Jamaica. Good afternoon.
Well, good afternoon to you, and good afternoon also to all of your listeners and your viewers. And I just wanted to give a shout out as well to everyone who has also been affected by Hurricane Melissa. And I know that many of us, even if you're not as hard hit as others, are still suffering from some level of trauma. So the first thing I want to do is to thank you for also giving me the opportunity, along with your colleagues, to share what has been happening in Jamaica as we try to recover and recuperate after the passing of Hurricane Melissa. You would know that she would have made landfall in Jamaica as a Category 5 with winds of more than 185 miles per hour. And the truth is that it went more westward than we thought it would. And what that means is that it would have made landfall in places like Westmoreland, Eastern Westmoreland. And those are areas that would have been far more vulnerable. You know, I always say to individuals, Westmoreland in particular is known for its wooden houses, really nice structures, you know, windows that are, beautifully carved and so on. And you used to really pass and see these nice houses, colorfully painted. Most of that is no more. And what would have happened is, given the structure of these units, most of them wooden houses, for example, Eastern Westmoreland, 90% of the housing stock is just simply gone. And when I say gone, I mean there is only a pile of rubble left. For some, it might just be a foundation. For some, you can see nothing at all. And that is so for the whole western part of the island. You're talking about St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, St. James, Hanover, Trelawney, parts of St. Anne, and even some parts in the east, although it went mainly to the west, are also finding that there is some damage there. This, of course, means that recovery is going to be a long and difficult road. Right now, we are really in the relief phase. And what that means is that there are individuals who are in shelters, many of which might have lost their roofs, or they might simply be under a tent or just tarpaulin that's being held up by pieces of stick. That's there, and that is where they are trying to just get a grip on where they are and to work through how they move forward. And so I also want to give a shout out as well, because we have seen a lot of individuals, charities, and countries that have made donations to the government of Jamaica and to the people of Jamaica. And we are very, very grateful for that. Part of what, if anybody is following, would have heard and listened and heard us say is that right in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa, the communication across the island was really bad. Blown out for, in many instances, individuals not having connectivity and not having access to be able to communicate with one another, call family members. And in a sense, that also would have affected central government. But the truth also is that following that, we have found that getting back connectivity has been really, really difficult. It has meant, therefore, that there are still communities as we speak that are marooned, where there's no access there. In some cases, we have not heard from these individuals 10 days on since the hurricane passed. And so that is concerning, and these are the things that we are grappling with. Central government have come together. We, as the opposition, we have been making a really robust call for a more joined up approach to what we're doing. And what we have been seeing, we had Parliament for the first time on Tuesday, where we had an opportunity to have a discussion about what has been happening and to put on record what we believe some gaps are and what we believe should be done.
All right, so let me, for those who, my apologies, for those who don't know who you are, I know there's at least 3 million people who know you are. But for those, because our audience is outside of that 3 million, just tell us who you are, because I would not do you justice by attempting to do so.
Sure. So I'm Angela Brown-Burke. I'm a member of Parliament for a constituency called Southwestern St. Andrew in Kingston. I'm also chairman of the People's National Party. And the People's National Party, of course, forms the opposition at this time in Parliament. We have a Parliament of 63 members, 28 of whom are members of the People's National Party.
All right.
And so that's who I am.
Thank you for it. So for the listening audience, this is Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, who's given a perspective of what's going on in Jamaica. Not just, we all know that Melissa destroyed the western part, but what is not being played in the media, most of the media, is the subtle nuances of the recovery. And so today's show is to speak not solely about the damage, but the recovery and the path to recovery and the multi-layered ways that it can be done. So in those constituencies, we've all heard about Black River. Tell us some of the other constituencies that have been affected, but also from the media neglected.
Yeah. So, I think people would have spoken about Black River because Black River, we like to say Black River had electricity before New York. They were producing ice before New York and all of that. But the truth is that it's part of St. Elizabeth. But there are many other places in St. Elizabeth that was also affected. We have northeastern St. Elizabeth, Santa Cruz, Balaclava, a number of places there. We have northwestern St. Elizabeth as well, the rest of Southwest, and that's St. Elizabeth. But going further west, we also have Westmoreland, which has 3 constituencies, Western, Central, and Eastern Westmoreland. All of them have been badly damaged. Eastern Westmoreland would have borne the brunt of it because Melissa made landfall, as I said, in New Hope, Eastern Westmoreland. We also have going into Montego Bay, St. James, where we also have the severe damage. South St. James is also there, again, cut off in many areas. I've seen that member of Parliament daily clearing roadways and, making sure that individuals know which roads are cleared, which ones still need some work to be done. We also have outside of the West, even in the East, as I said, St. Thomas, Eastern St. Thomas in particular, Portland, St. Mary, there's also places with damage. You know, in Kingston, we hardly talk about it because there's not much. But I say to individuals, I have a fishing village, and that fishing village, you know, there are 28 fisher folks who are there. And of that, about 10, 12 of their wharves totally destroyed, all their pots gone, some of their boats damaged. And so it's both dwellings and livelihood. And that is really where we are now, trying to deal with relief and looking towards recovery at this point. And it's going to be different. We started with just shelter that people needed, finding a place to stay. And then we also had food. What has been happening is that as individuals have made contributions of food self-care packages have been made, those are being distributed to individuals as we speak. There are some individuals, some organizations, and some MPs, quite frankly, who have made, like, you know, soup kitchens, as we call them. So they cook and serve to the community so that at least individuals have a way of getting ashore meals. You know, one of the things that I really found very innovative, and we have come to realize how important it is a member of parliament from Westmoreland, who had a Starlink, and, you know, a mobile Starlink, and he went from community to community, just allowing individuals to be able to make a call to their family members. And, you know, just to see the joy on their faces when they are able to connect with family members, to tell them that they are okay. Yes, the house is gone, but I'm okay. And, you know, this is an attempt by the member of parliament, understanding the constituency to keep them connected. So, you know, that's kind of what we're doing, reaching out to friends, the Patriots, the PNPYO, Women's Movement, other organizations, Hanover Charities, Food for the Poor. I mean, a number of organizations have been part of this effort of just taking care packages, which really has been one of the most important things that you could do. Along with that is also the issue about medical, about healthcare. And so as a party, what we have done, because we were concerned about the state of the hospitals in that side of the country, and we therefore got a medical mission on the way, and we visited the hospitals, and you know, so we could actually have a good idea as to what is happening there. And a lot of them are having, you know, big issues because they too, you would have had damage. And most importantly, a number of the healthcare professionals would have spent 4 or 5 days, you know, nonstop at work trying to deal with individuals, while they themselves would have lost, some of them too would have lost their roofs and so on. But as much as we're doing secondary, you know, the healthcare, in terms of the government is talking about putting up field hospitals, which are needed, those are good. But the other part that sometimes we miss is really primary care. And so we have had a number of volunteers who have come on board and who go from time to time to different communities. You know, a mother who's pregnant, who hasn't been able to go to the hospital, or, you know, the state of, you know, non-communicable diseases in populations like ours as well. You know, persons who have diabetes or are hypertensive, maybe not taking their medication on time under this very stressful environment. So these are some of the things that we're looking at and dealing with as we deal with the relief and recovery.
All right, thank you for that. As we saw in the opening video, was that the opposition leader, Honorable Mark Gordon, went out to the affected areas and spoke to the representative, Comrade Jess, also MP Dr. Dayton Campbell, Ian Hales, and MP Vods, right? I'm just going to play a little clip, something that of something.
Mark Gordon was here today to do aerial tour really of the parish to see the extent of the damage. I want to go on record again to say that the hurricane made landfall in Eastern Westmoreland, New Hope in the White House division, and then it went across to the Darlington division and the Bethel division. So all the constituencies in Jamaica, the greatest damage is in Eastern Westmoreland. And it is as a result of that that we need special attention. Persons here, almost every board house is flat. Persons who have zinc, had zinc for their roof, it's either completely gone or partially gone. Majority of the roads blocked. The schools are damaged, police stations, health centers, churches, gas stations. There is absolutely zero electricity, telecommunications, water, with the exception for telecommunications of a few persons who are stylish. We need help, we need assistance. Persons need food supply, they need proper shelter, and we need to clear the roads. Right? There are communities that are literally cut off. There are still communities where there are bodies to be removed. And we have spoken to members from the stadium over the last day and a half, trying to get them to come into the community so they can retrieve those bodies. Because if those are not retrieved, then we'll have an death situation in our house.
So as we can see, the situation is dire, or they say is dread. Really not laughing.
No, it is. It is.
Yeah,
It is.
it's apocalyptic, basically, right?
And he's not exaggerating at all. What he has said is really a sober account of what is there. And, you know, people always say hearing it, seeing the videos and actually being there is so vastly different, because once you get there, the distress, you know, the trauma is so palpable in just engaging individuals. But, you know, I am heartened by what I have seen in terms of individuals going down. You know, someone in the diaspora would just call and say, listen, I have a trailer load of stuff that I'm taking. Where can I bring it? Who can I, you know? So a lot of that is happening. The truth, though, is that what is needed is just so enormous. You know, I heard one of the ministers this morning saying that they are estimating 600,000 persons may be without a home at this point. And that is the estimate that they have. But the truth is that there are still communities that we don't know what's happening there. Even in terms of those who have died, you know, we are still getting people calling to say, oh, we hear there's a body here. We want the authorities to come and pick up. But we're still doing that. And I'm thankful and grateful that that spirit of community is alive and well. So persons have been clearing their roadways in ways that they can. They've been looking out for their neighbors. They have been reporting. But I also believe that one of the things that's needed is a clear system and channel for communication, so that individuals know who to call for what, yeah, and how to get the information in. And I'm telling you, if many of your members of parliament are not clear on what that is, you can imagine that individuals on the ground are certainly not any clearer.
All right, thank you for that. Let me ask you this. Looking from afar, what is the PNP, the opposition, doing to I'll ask two questions, Madam Speaker. What is the opposition doing to highlight what needs to be done? Number one. And number two, how does the opposition feel or know things should be structured in order to, I don't want to say streamline the process, but help accelerate the assistance for persons?
Well, you know, right before Melissa hit, the leader of the opposition reached out to the Prime Minister to say we need to have a conversation, because he thought that this really needed a joined up national effort. To be fair to the Prime Minister, he did meet with the leader of the opposition and the team. And this idea of we both expressed, meaning both parties expressed the notion that we needed an all of Jamaica approach. And so the People's National Party, led, articulated by the leader and by all of us, that is what we think is important and is needed. So what have we been doing? We do, in the aftermath, we have been reaching out to try and get information so that we could pass that on to our members of parliament. And it hasn't always been forthcoming. So that has been a problem. The leader of opposition would have sent a letter to the Prime Minister making some suggestions about how we believe we should be proceeding. He did call for a bipartisan or multi-stakeholder committee to monitor the recovery efforts, not to be involved, because the opposition didn't want to be involved in the distribution necessarily in that way. But what we do believe is that there needs to be a team that's monitoring what's coming in, how is it being distributed, is it going where it is supposed to go, you know, are we dealing with this as it should? And so we've been asking for that. The system is not really where we would want it to be, because we believe that it is still not fully organized in a way that allows for seamless communication and information flow for members of parliament, in particular the opposition member of parliament, to be able to respond to the needs of their constituents. So that is one. At parliament, the Prime Minister did indicate that he was going to move on the issue of a committee of parliament to look at what is happening, and as we did for COVID. So I'm waiting to see what that will be. And so what we have been doing, because there has been that lapse, because we had noted that there was almost a silence around some of the other constituencies that we thought needed to be attended to. The leader of the opposition actually found his way, took a helicopter, hired a helicopter while he couldn't get the JDF to do it. So he went and started visiting, which is how you would have seen, for example, some of the videos and the footage that you have there, engaging with the members of parliament on the ground so that he would have a first-hand experience. And all of us as MPs, especially those of us who are not as badly hit, what we have been doing is that we have been joining the efforts, going and visiting other areas to help with the relief efforts. You know, you donate what you can, and sometimes it's manpower, sometimes it's helping to deliver the care packages, to pack, to make the packages, to reach out to friends and family, to ask for donations so that we can get that going. So that's kind of what we've been doing. As I said, what the MPs have been doing is that they, depending on the constituency and what the greatest needs are, as I said, it could be just connectivity that they're providing. It could be the care packages that they're doing. It could be just making sure that there is water. It could be just making sure that persons know where they are providing a warm meal so that they can get there. And so those are some of the efforts that are being done. Also, as opposition, we have reached out to Hanover Charities and others who are working to say, can we get, you know, some donations from individuals who really would want to make donations, contribute to Jamaica. And so that is in place, because the thing about Jamaicans, we are all across the globe and we all come from somewhere and have an affinity to that place that we call home. And so there are individuals who want to make sure that they're sending back to Westmoreland, want to make sure that they're sending back to South St. James or East Portland, you know, and or Southeast St. Mary. And so there's that opportunity for persons to do that as well. And we've seen quite a bit of that. And then we have a number of members of parliament with also initiatives. So you would have heard MP Campbell talk about the condition of the houses. And so what he's doing is adopt a family, but others have other initiatives that they're doing as well. I don't know if am I answering the your question?
Yes,
I hope
thank
I've
you.
covered it. Yes.
Thank you. Very, very comprehensive answer. I'm going to play a short clip of something that organization did last week. So that was an organization within the PNP that did some work last week, I presume.
Yes, it was. I think I'm recognizing some of what is there. So what it is, because it is just so many. These are individuals who just call and say, listen, I took a trailer load in, I want to bring it down. And so individuals come and they're there, they help to unpack, they help to distribute, they help to organize. And so all of that is being done. And honestly, it is being done by members of parliament, by councillors, by candidates, by just sympathizers, by individuals who see a cause and who want to help. And, there is that avenue and opportunity to bring them in. And I think it is important, to acknowledge and celebrate the way in which this kind of partnership is working.
Yeah, I'm going to play a little clip from Dr. M. Let me say Comrade Dr. Campbell.
Morning, Jamaica. This is Dr. Dayton Campbell, a Member of Parliament from Eastern Westmoreland. I am today launching the Adopt a Family initiative for Eastern Westmoreland, where we're inviting persons to adopt a family out of the constituency so you can help them to recover from this disaster. Adopting a family means that you can help them with housing, you can help them with food, with back-to-school supply, whatever the needs are of that particular family. We have identified some container houses that are on sale for about $3,500 US, and from what I have seen, with approximately 2,000 houses being totally destroyed, board houses that are flat, I think that is probably a workable solution to get these persons a home in the short term. If you can do that, that would be grateful. We are indeed our brother's keeper, as the scripture says. And so I invite you from near and far to think of it and to try and make it a reality by adopting a family out of Eastern Westmoreland and assisting them to get back on their feet. God bless you and have a good day.
Yes, that's a great initiative. I think we'll have to have Dr. Campbell on another day to fully explain that. I'm going to take
absolutely, and absolutely. I think it will be very important to have him. He has a whole committee that he has established to work out the details, the cost of the house and what will be involved. So I think that would be very interesting indeed.
Yeah, I'm going to take a slightly different tack just to ask some objective questions. In what for those of us that are not in Jamaica, we have to live through the media. We have to watch everything through the media, right? And with that being said, how has the government obviously has the daily press conferences and so on, but that doesn't necessarily always is the reality, right? What they say is not necessarily reality. And I want to ask, have the media themselves been asking objective questions versus just repeating the talking points of the government? Because sometimes that's what happens. You have I won't quote the names, but I saw a specific show yesterday where someone was lambasting the opposition for asking questions. And I'm saying
Yeah.
that's the opposition's job. And then I saw this lady, I think you may know her,
Yes,
Miss
Dion
Dion
Jackson
Jackson
Miller.
Miller, asking some very pointed questions to which it seems like 4 or 5 ministers got overtly defensive and they still haven't answered the question, right? And she was
Yeah,
persistent
so
at the same
you're
term.
absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. That we always have those individuals in the media who believe that any question and critique by anyone of what the government is doing is not right. Yeah, and that the government is always right, and all they want to do is to parrot what the government has said, and the rest of us need to stop it. Fortunately, we do have a couple of individuals in the media who have maintained their independent stance and who are asking tough questions, but these are the questions that really go to the heart of transparency and getting people to understand exactly what is happening. Dion Jackson Miller is one, Zara Burton is another,
Yeah.
and one or two are there asking the tough questions. How are you counting the dead? Can we understand that? How are we accounting for funds that come into the island? Who gets it? How is it spent? Is there any accounting record of it? Because we all want to know. We all want to know because we know that transparency is important in making sure that donations go where they should, and in making sure that the best use is being made of the contributions that we are getting. And I'm also glad to hear some persons in the private sector also echoing that call that we do need a transparent system that gets us to understand, to track what we are receiving, where that's going, how that is being spent. Because I think it's
Yeah.
important too.
Yeah, I again, I'm living through the media, right? I noticed that the prime minister announced that the office of office of disaster preparedness and
Preparedness,
management is
emergency
now moved
management.
under his office, right? Which to me kind of erases some level of independence, correct?
Absolutely correct. But it would not surprise many of us because in the last administration, every time there was an issue with a minister or with the ministry, the prime minister moved it to his office. And so we used to call that the naughty corner because everybody where there was a problem just went there. I tell you what is strange and what I believe we have been asking questions about as well is that in the middle of all of this, the acting director general of ODPEM, which is the Office of Disaster and Emergency Management, was moved and replaced. Yes, many would say a demotion of some kind. We have heard nothing, in terms of what has occasioned that, what is happening there. What we hear is a new acting director general, and that it is all now moved again to the prime minister's office. And honestly, I don't know any government where you have all of these important ministries and portfolios being under the prime minister's office. Quite frankly, it makes many of us uncomfortable whether or not he believes that it is only in his office that we can get things done, And so that's the question that is raised.
Yeah. I saw something the other day that it, simultaneously it broke my heart and at the same time angered me, right? I don't have the clip, but tell us about this moment.
What was that in Parliament? Was that in Parliament?
Yes.
Yes. So in Parliament, the Prime Minister came and gave us a report on what had been happening so far, an update, which we appreciated. And then we were asked to speak. The leader of the opposition spoke. And of course, the members are supposed to ask questions. The speaker has taken a really strange approach to the asking of questions. Yes, we know that a question is to be framed as a question. But sometimes you need a short preamble or just a couple of other words to locate the question that you're asking. You know, the minute the member got up and said, you know, he was saying, I really want to make sure that what I'm saying is nobody interprets it as being political. And immediately the speaker went at him, you know, and I could see and feel the frustration of which led, quite frankly, the member to say he has one mother and the mother is not in parliament. But we have a mic system that the government just put in that really is being used to stifle the voice of the opposition. And there's no other way to say it, there's no other way to frame it. What it means is that if the speaker believes that what you're saying you shouldn't say, she cuts your mic. If she believes you're going too far, she cuts your mic. There is no space in the parliament anymore to say, you know, I crave your indulgence on this, which is such an important national disaster. Not even then did we see the kind of grace and latitude that we would have expected from the speaker for members in the House to speak.
Yeah, and I say this as a black man, right? Yeah, well, Dr. Campbell was maybe a foot and a half taller than me. He's a big black man. And in that moment, I saw a man who came there carrying the grief of Eastern Westmoreland on his shoulder, on his chest, attempt to ask a question. And before he even got to ask the question, get to the question, right? It's almost like some of those school kids sort of thing, right? And
absolutely.
I give him credit because I don't think I would. There's a member on the opposite side of you where I think I would have used that type of behavior, right? Because I'm not coming here asking about something for myself. I'm coming here asking for the people of my constituency, and you're shouting to me like some little kid, right?
Yeah. What you saw there was really just frustration. Yes, absolutely.
Right. If when you see him or talk to him, just tell him I give him credit for that because I would not have held my mouth. They would have kicked me out that day, right?
I would certainly tell him.
But you know, what I've also like to see is that recently you've had some new members join, right? And they are nobody's fool. They articulate, and they had recently had a press conference, right? I think at least 4 of them are new members. I want to say 3. You can say how many
4,
are new.
Yes, at least 4.
Right.
You have Dr. Dawes, you have Nikisha Burchell, Isa Buchanan, and Zulika Jess.
Right, and
All
each of
4
them
were brand new members.
Right, each of them were able to articulate. I call him. He is my MP, the Honorable Isaac Buchanan. He articulated from a human point of view, from a legal point of view. Dr. Dawes, is it?
Dr. Dawes, yes.
Yes, he articulated from a medical point of view.
Medical, right.
What I saw of MP Burchell and Jess, they articulated on behalf of the constituencies, and you know they were able. It wasn't just this rah complain, but the reality is at least half of the people that voted in the last election voted for the PNP, right?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
All of the people.
You're absolutely correct. 5,000 votes separates both. Total
right.
votes.
So
yeah.
I say that in a sense.
Yes.
I say that in the sense that it's very bad, right? Not just in Parliament, but it's becoming kind of obvious that not just in Parliament that your voices are attempted to dismiss your voices in Parliament, but in the media, the help to your constituencies. And this is where it becomes like we can't articulate that we're all Jamaicans, and then but some people are more Jamaican than others. if you follow what I'm saying.
And I follow you. If anybody would have been following the politics in Jamaica, this is something that we have been talking about for a number of years, in terms of the voice of the opposition. We were 14 members in the last administration. We still held our own in terms of articulating the issues, and we are committed to doing that. The process of identifying our candidates was a lengthy one. We worked hard with them. They worked hard on the ground, getting to know their people, understanding the issues there. And it shows in their representation in Parliament now. And so they, as you say, they're nobody's fool. They are bright, many of them young, and they are people-centered. You know, they are people person. They are there not for themselves, but for the improvement and betterment of their constituencies. And they're there to represent. And believe you me, no one is going to be able to get them to shut up. You know, you are going to hear from them. They are going to make their points. And we are going to continue doing that, because that is the role we have taken on as members of Parliament, sent to Parliament by those who have elected us.
Yeah, I want to just play something from another member.
Water, they need everything. It's total destruction, total disaster. But we are here. We're here to do an assessment, to go back to ensure that we can get the necessary things that this constituency wants, so we can move forward. We're going to build back.
So that was Comrade MP Ian Hills, right?
Yes.
He's a vice president as well, they want to say?
He's also vice president of the People's National Party, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, and
I mean, and this is the same thing.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to sound, Madam Speaker, let me not sound too political, but the reality is that when most people who are not in Jamaica would not know the nuances of one parish or the other, one constituency, or you don't know where the constituency. All they see is Western Jamaica has been severely damaged. I have a friend of mine from Mobay, and she was finally able to get power and cell phone service yesterday, and sent me a long 7-minute voice note describing what's going on there. And she said it's so bad that some people have been given care packages, right? Let's say people have been given 100 care packages to distribute. Some folks are going around and selling the care packages for $1,000, and even when you pay the $1,000, it's meager, right? Prices in stores have gone up. This is apart from the destruction that the hurricane itself caused. We're now talking about predatory sort of behavior, right?
Right.
So the question then becomes, is where along the line does the government, right? Where along the line does the government enforce prices to remain a certain price? Because the supply chain of getting goods to your stores has not been interrupted, right? The price of shipping from Florida has not gone up. So why are the prices going up? The only thing you could justify prices going up is maybe some fresh foods because the bread basket has been destroyed, right? But canned
we've
food,
seen a lot of that.
Right. So the question then becomes,
seen a lot of that. Yes.
So the question then becomes to the authorities who want to be the authorities, where are you enforcing this?
Right.
How are you enforcing this? Right.
And so you would have heard the opposition in Parliament spoke to a number of those issues as well. In fairness to the government, they had spoken earlier about prices, but it's food prices, it is transportation costs that have gone up, from individuals, as you say, who seek to take advantage of the situation. And so we have asked for the authorities to kind of monitor it much more closely, and so that individuals who have predatory prices, that we could bring them to books, around that. So the laws are not as specific around some of them. So we do have the Consumer Affairs Commission that can deal with prices like in your store prices, whether it's food or whatever. In terms of the transportation, that also becomes a little difficult in terms of that and the laws, how we are going to do that. But I believe that the government has to have its regulatory agencies taking a look at that, making sure that there's no price gouging, and making sure that these business these entrepreneurs and business people don't take advantage of Jamaicans who are already at such a low point. Everything is scarce. We don't have to make it worse. And I know that over the next couple of months, as you said, given what has happened to the breadbasket constituencies in terms of production of food, that we are going to have scarcity. And because we do have scarcity, I know that we're going to have to deal with prices as well at that time.
All right, because the other thing, and this goes back to some of the foundations of post-colonial Jamaica. Let me put that way, right? The Right Honorable Michael Manley taught people or helped to instill in people to be self-sufficient. Grow what you eat what you grow. He may not have coined that phrase, but that is the mentality, right? And over the last 50 years, unfortunately, Jamaica, just like most Caribbean islands, have become Americanized. Everything is the supermarket, right? And I think what this disaster has taught Jamaica and other islands is that one day the supermarkets are either not going to be there, or the prices are going to be so high that you can't afford to eat, right? And one of the things that I think your shadow minister of agriculture can articulate to people is like, listen, Melissa's taught us we need to grow our food, because the whole island it might be the east side next time get licked. It might be the central part, but other parts of the island need to start an agriculture industry to help feed themselves and the other. Because my family is from Portland. They're relying on food from St. Elizabeth that's not going to come, right? What are they going to do now?
And in fact, I think people are already thinking about that. I know one of the members of parliament, I think it is MP Oman Noel, is starting one where he's inviting all his farmers and he's getting seeds for cash crops now, and he's from the east as well, to begin to plan, so that at least in a couple of weeks, we would be able to have certain from those farmers, some of those crops ready for market. But you're absolutely right. For a number of years in the 70s, we carried that line, about growing what you eat and eating what you grow. And then we kind of abandoned it for a little bit. And I think that this is exactly what Melissa has shown. We have tried to do backyard gardening to promote backyard gardening and community gardening, and it hasn't taken off in the way we would have wanted to. But I believe that we are all going to be forced, to grow a little here and grow a little there, and where we have land, to encourage our farmers to plant what they may not have thought of planting, because we would have been expecting that from St. Elizabeth, but it won't be there in a couple of weeks. So we're going to have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that I know Dr. Campbell can be preacher-like at times. I'm not sure if he is a preacher, but I know that there's
a junior preacher. We call him
junior preacher. There is a saying in the Bible as we wind up. There's a saying in the Bible: there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, right? And what I'm simply saying is that what has happened to Western Jamaica has happened to the Virgin Islands in Hurricane Irma a few years ago. It happened to Puerto Rico, and same time it's happened to the Bahamas in 2019. we in the Caribbean, it doesn't matter which island, we are going to get licked, right? If it's not your year, it's like the lottery. It's not your turn today. It's going to be your turn somewhere down the line. And one of the things that I have been very grateful to see is how our CARICOM brothers and sisters, irrespective of the islands, even some Latin American countries, have rallied to send assistance, whatever they can do, whether it's grassroots or whether it's from the government, right? Because at the hurricane season is not over, right? There's going to be a time where Bermuda's going to get hit, and we're going to be saying, "Hey, comrade, can you send us some bull of beef, right? Because you don't have nothing, right?" So what I would say as the future government of Jamaica is that we have to prepare our people now, not just rebuilding houses, right, but rebuilding our domestic food supply.
Absolutely.
Maintaining
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, maintaining our regional links, because D-Day comes for anyone. Last year was Barrow. You all got hit with Barrow and where was it? St. Vincent, Barbados, and Grenada, parts of Grenada.
Yes, absolutely.
They normally don't get hurricanes.
No,
right?
No. Yes, I remember that. No, you're absolutely correct. I mean, we are in that zone where we are not going to be able to escape it all the time. As you say, it's not if, it's when. And so we have to operate knowing that. So food security is going to be important. Our infrastructure, because even as we rebuild now, someone in the construction industry said to me, most of the glass and stuff that we build using our buildings, they are meant to withstand a wind at 150 miles per hour. What that means is that, once a hurricane like Melissa passes through, you're down. And so our building code, we're going to have to revisit, based on the intensity of the hurricanes that are happening now. But, it has all these kind of implications in terms of that. Even, our ports, we're just going to have to look at it, at all of that, as we rebuild, to make sure that we are including resilience in it, yes, and taking into account the climate crisis that we are currently facing.
Yeah. This is my sister, Rosalind, who I call her the canary because, well, she knows why. But she was in the Virgin Islands when Hurricane Irma struck. Her and my aunt, they were in a house. The house survived, but most of the houses in the Virgin Islands were devastated. A week later, she was evacuated from there, went to Puerto Rico, and some few days after that, they were hit with Hurricane Maria. So she has seen within 1 month, she's seen the total destruction of 2 islands by 2 Category 5 plus. I want to say Melissa was Category 6 because it was way past what Category 5 is. So her stake is that, unfortunately, the man-made disasters, which is mismanagement, is sometimes worse. But
no, that's a good way of looking at it, and it's something that we have to be careful about, which is why the oversight and the attention to detail during this phase is so important. And that is why the role of the opposition, the role of civil society in making sure that it is transparent, it's open, is again also important to decrease the likelihood of that man-made disaster being so catastrophic on our people.
Yeah. So as we close up, again, I want to thank you, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke. Any closing remarks? This is like cricket match. This is just the opening rounds.
Okay. No problem. I know this is the first one. Honestly, I believe any help that we can get, I think, is going to be welcome as we, recover from Melissa. We are just coming out of, we are still in the relief period, which is going to go into recovery, but recovery is going to take all of Jamaica and all of our friends, wherever you are, helping in any way that you can.
All right, thank you. And thank you once again to my comrade mother, who she knows who she is, for always looking out for me and lining it up. I want to give a shout out to our media partners, Cayman Road in Cayman Islands, Channel 82 in Bermuda, Radio Turks and Caicos Island in Turks and Caicos Island, and CBN Radio, the Cox brothers, who are broadcasting this live. If you know anyone in the Virgin Islands, shout out to my family in the Virgin Islands, the Frasers, the Turnbulls, the Thomases. Well, you all know who you are. And we look forward to continuing this series talking about Hurricane Melissa recovery. I would like to open the invitation for other MPs to come on and speak to the people, because it's one thing you're just getting these little snippets out of Jamaica on the media. As we know, CNN's moved on to the next disaster now, right?
Right.
We got an impending disaster with what's going on in Venezuela, potentially might go on in Venezuela, which as would actually wreak more havoc than we could possibly think about. But that in itself is another conversation.
A whole other conversation. But I'll encourage them. We'll make sure that the others are able to join, because I think that a lot of your listeners in all of the territories, all of the islands, would benefit, yes, from that greater exposition of what's happening and how they can help.
Yeah, and here in Bermuda alone, we have at least 3,000 to 4,000 born Jamaicans and the children, right? We have the Jamaican Association, headed by a woman, Yashika Weir, who last week we were able to collect a plane load of goods and send down a plane load to Jamaica, and we still have more goods here to get to Jamaica. So shout out to Jamaican Association, Bermuda Air, the Bermuda government, and others who put together, and the 70 Adventists for hosting it, put together that thing last week. But we'll have someone talking about that.
Thank you.
Thank you, comrade. And as we say, we're marching on to victory, right?
We're marching on to victory. Thanks very much for the opportunity to have the conversation.
The word is love.
The word is love every time.
All right.
Okay.